Hello, welcome to week 6. Home office today. I've got some sick family and 3 doctor's appointments that I need to bring people to. It's snowing like crazy out and I have a headache. So today's such a great day, but I wanted to get you guys your video and go over our compensation we start today. Yay! Money, money, money. So compensation is broken down into 2 weeks. This week we just start with you guys getting the hang of money and who gets paid what and what's required and what's legally mandated in terms of compensation. So a couple of you chose the Fair Labor Standards Act for our law assignment. If you did not look that up, Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, that's where they show work week. That's where they show exempt, non-exempt status. A couple of your jobs, you said that they were non-exempt, which means hourly. You need to go look at those new criteria. If you're still seeing where it says $400 a week. 414, I think, was the old amount. You're looking at the old criteria. They changed December of 1st of 16. So it's up to like 47,476 for the pay level. You need to make sure you're looking at that for pay for your next week's assignment for those of you looking ahead. And then there are 4 mandatory benefits in the United States, which none of us would think of as benefits, but that is what they're called. Mandatory benefits, which you can see from your discussion post this week, are Social Security, Medicare, unemployment insurance, and workers' comp. For your assignment next week, you're going to need to tell me how much you're paying. Because remember, we're the HR department. How much you're paying per employee, you're going to have to come up with an amount. So I'll go ahead and tell you the answer for Social Security is 6.8% of salary. You're going to want to come up with those ratios for the other 3 and include that in your total compensation. The discussion for this week expands on that. What do you think the minimum a company should have to offer employees for mandatory benefits? So everything else, all of the things that we think of as benefits are all optional. Even healthcare insurance is still optional in the United States because you can get out of it for religious affiliations. If your company is too small, you don't have to offer it. And there's a couple different things. So yes, it's required, but it's not required. It's not mandatory like for everybody, no matter what, no exemptions, which is why it's not on this list. So if you think it absolutely should be mandatory, you're going to want to add it here and justify it with a dollar amount. So most of us have had health insurance benefits at one point in our life or another through our employer. What I want to show you guys is the breakdown. Okay, what I want to show you guys is the breakdown for health insurance. So most of the time when we talk about how much is health insurance, we just think of how much we as the employee have to pay. So this is an example of one that I took from a company. My portion was 434.49 because I was insuring me, my husband, and my daughter. And then the employer was also paying another $1,316.65. So altogether, my plan was roughly $1,800. So that's the amount that you're going to need to put in week 5. And you are more than welcome to use this chart, which is the compensation and benefits PowerPoint, which I'll be posting in Blackboard for you. And some of the other benefits are here on this chart. You can see compensation. We have salary and variable pay, premium pay, bonuses, that sort of thing. Then benefits, the 4 legally required ones, health and welfare, retirement, pay for work. There's work-life benefits that don't have a necessary dollar amount to them. How do you put a dollar amount on flex time, which would be the ability to work 4 10s rather than 8 or 5 8-hour work days, or letting someone do 7 to 3 instead of 8 to 4, or hours like that. And you can see this chart again, it's going to be in that same PowerPoint presentation for benefits you think might be that should be required in the United States. And you're going to want to put dollar amounts on all of those. So if you say health insurance, then you're going to want to look it up for premium rates, or you can just go ahead and use this one and say, you know, for the $1,300 a month an employee. And as a company, you always have to assume that your employee is going to be the most expensive potential employee. You don't want to budget out that they're single or they are just married with no children, and then you can't actually afford them when you find out that they need to insure their whole family. So you always go the most expensive option. So if you said life insurance, you would want to research how much life insurance is and add that whole pricing. Okay, so going back to our other discussion is compensation ethics. And there are a few trends in compensation, such as executive pay, so how much CEOs get paid really. Open pay, which would be we publish, here's how much Trina made, here has Katie, Michael, everybody. You just see it and it's listed. It shows our title and our salary. And the reason is then they can't say that it was being hidden, it was discriminatory. You can just see it. It's out in the open. There's no secrets. And then the last one is pay equity. Equity meaning fairness. Hold on. Where are we at? Here we go. Pay equity. There are 4 kinds of equity that you want to think through. External equity, how do we compare at the same jobs with competitors? Internal equity, how does your pay compare to other jobs within the company? How does it compare with peers? So on the same team, like we all have the same job description, work in the same department. How does that pay? How are the fairness measures there? And the last one is procedural equity. How fair is the process in deciding allocation of pay in the company? So if the sales department can put in their bonus forms on Thursday and get paid the following Friday for their bonuses, but the engineering department turns it in Thursday and it comes in the next quarter, that would be a procedural equity issue. Now, when I say fair, I don't mean equal. Equal and fair are not the same thing. We just mean, have we looked at it and what are our thoughts? So if we are higher in pay than our competitors, we might have a strategic reason for it. If we're lower in pay, we might have a strategic reason for it. We might have a budgetary reason for it. What we don't want to have is absolutely no idea how we compare. We've never even looked at it. That's what we don't want to have happen. So this is pay equity, these 4 things, which again are in the slide deck. So those are the 2 discussions we're having. Your assignment next week, and I broke this down because people said it was just too much to do all in 1 week. So we have it in 2. Here are, okay, here are the parts that you need to look up for the assignment next week. And yes, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it's a confusing assignment according to past feedback. So it's been streamlined in its content and extended in how many weeks you get to research it. Okay, a brief description of the job position. You're just reminding me again, this is about the assistant professor role that I created. Number 2, research 2 motivational theories, reinforcement, expectancy, equity, that sort of thing. In our PowerPoint, I am not sure I even give you them because, hey, it's a research paper. Yep, I don't even give them to you. I give you equity just because it's a confusing one. It has a lot of parts. But yeah, so just go ahead and research reinforcement theory, expectancy theory, those sorts of things. And then compensation models. So these are the things you will actually have seen in practice, pay for performance, pay bands, etc. They are based on motivational theories. So Herzberg, Maslow, all of these are theories, and then the models are things you will actually have seen at work, like pay bands and pay for performance models. You want to choose one model for your position and defend your response based on the motivational theory. So all of that needs to be researched. Number 2 is a research part. I don't need a lot of content here. I need you to do a lot of research and then pare it down to the one that works best for your role. So if you chose a sales position, it's going to have a different motivational theory than if you chose office work where there really aren't any cycles. It's just a grind sort of a job. And you're going to want to find the right reinforcement and compensation model that align. So when it says choose one model, maybe you choose pay bands. Maybe you explain to me why you think pay bands supports expectancy theory from Vroom, and you go through all of those thought processes. That's number 2. Number 3 is research supply. Okay, so this is supply and demand, a little bit of economics, which comes into human resources. So supply for your job is the number of graduates in the market or in the country in your position. So if your job says you want a degree in electrical engineering, you're going to want to look and see how many people are graduating in electrical engineering in 2018. Number of employees that already have that job, the Department of Labor, the census, you can find that information. You can find number of electrical engineers in Milwaukee, that sort of thing. This is your supply portion. So these are the kinds of questions you should be thinking through with your supply and demand. How many open positions are competing for that talent? How many applicants? How will these two impact? So the applicants, you're going to figure that out by how many people are currently in that role in the market and how many people are graduating with that. And then you're going to compare it to how many open positions that you find through Indeed or industry forecast, growth rates, that sort of thing. So you're going to want to look through all of that. By the way, I don't care where you live, this assignment is based in Milwaukee. Okay, let me repeat that. I don't care where you live, online students, hear me. I need the supply and the demand done for the Milwaukee market. Okay, so you're going to want to do all of your supply and demand for Milwaukee, even if you live elsewhere. So you're going to want to look at how many job postings you can find, how many unemployed people are going to find, forecasts in the role, and you're going to look. So if you can see that there are 250 people supply, so between graduates and people working in the market, you see 250. And then you see the number of job openings is 1. You know that you're going to have to pay a little bit more to get that one person to choose your company. Or you can pay a little less because you're the only one hiring and you're the only game in town. I need you to work through the logic on that and explain it to me. Remember, I can only grade what you show me, even though I know the supply and the demand in the market. Okay. And number 4, this is the one where you're going to put it all together. Based on the model you chose and the labor market, create a compensation and benefit plan to recruit and retain employees. Include benefits, mandatory and optional, salary, bonuses, and any other options you wish to include. Explain the rationale for your offerings and include total price of compensation package. This is where your research from 2 and 3 come in for number 4. Okay, so based on the model you chose in the labor market, create a compensation and benefit plan. So I think I'm going to pay my assistant faculty member who's never taught before $40,000 based on I researched these 3 other companies for external equity. I looked at the supply and the demand, and I think that the market's telling me I should pay 44, but there's a lot of people that are qualified and not a lot of people that are hiring, so I don't have to pay as much because they're really eager to take the job. So I'm going to offer $42,000 direct salary. I'm going to give them the 4 legally required benefits by law, and then I'm going to offer these other things. So if you look at my little chart here, this is the final thing I'm going to want to see. I know this one says 2014, but this is an example, a real example of a total compensation chart. So the salary was 34,000. We gave him 2 weeks leave. We gave him a bonus. We have insurance paid by employer, that is health insurance. We have pension contributions. We have 401k contributions, and then legally required benefits. Your salary and wages to benefit should be somewhere between 60 and 80%, depending on the kind of job you have. Usually the lower down the totem pole, the higher the salary is compared. So your McDonald's worker that, is part-time is 90% salary, 10% benefits. Your CEO of Fortune 500 company might be as low as 40 or 30% salary, and the rest is benefits. So it can be all over the place, but for most of your jobs, you're going to want to be in that 60 to 80% of salary being the biggest single chunk. So you're going to want to go through all of those with how much it costs the employer. Okay, all of this should be from the employer. So this is your final thing, because in the assignment I tell you and include total price of compensation package. This is what I'm looking for, this total price. The way that I've seen this that earns the most points for those of you asking for exemplars is an Excel spreadsheet that says the name of the benefit, the dollar amount of the benefit, and then sometimes there's another column that shows me how you got that dollar amount. So for example, vacation days, you're gonna do the math down to how much they get paid per day and then times that by the number of vacation days. So I can see the formula of how you got that big dollar amount. Unless it's an obvious, like we just match 5% for pension, that you can just put 5%. And then the next line is, and why are you giving them this benefit? Okay, so you don't have to do that for salary. All of the other things are going to tell me why you chose that salary. Number 3, honestly, is how I'm going to know why you chose your salary. By the way, that's where you put all the information. But then another line, why are you offering this benefit? So for, as an example, here I put a bonus. Well, this position is part of our quality assurance line, and we're really focusing on quality. So we've decided to offer bonuses to get that done more. We decided to offer this much vacation because of X, Y, and Z. Remember, do not use a company for this assignment. So do not match whatever your company is doing. That's not what this assignment is for. This is ideal and realistic. So you can't tell me that you're going to pay the McDonald's worker $83,000 a year because that's what we should be doing. You have to tell me realistically, here's what we can pay for this kind of a role. I hope that makes sense. We'll talk about it again next week. This week's PowerPoint does talk about things like health insurance and laws and that sort of thing. So you can think through it in case you have an HMO or a PPO and you're like, I don't really know what those are. We talk about those a little here. And you're going to want to look through strategy and legal ideas that you need to think about for your assignment next week. This week, we have quite a bit of mental prep work for you for next week. So if we go to week 6, so compensation expectations, executive compensation, open salary, sociology of pay, total rewards, what is your worth? And then I'm going to be putting the PowerPoint in here in a couple of minutes. You really are just getting your brain straight for the stuff for the next week's compensation assignment. Hopefully that helps and makes sense. I need to get going to another doctor's appointment. So reach out with emails if you have questions. I'll be grading your stuff this week. All of the compensation assignments, again, do not use a company. Do base it on the feedback I gave you from the job description in your job description assignment. And we'll be going from there. Everything is from an HR point of view, as the rest of the assignments have been. And this week we have mandatory benefits and compensation ethics due Thursday by noon, and start looking at your assignment next week. Thanks.